To understand Earth's history, we view it as a looping system of geology, climate, and biology. Geologists organize this timeline into 4 eons. The first 3 represent 4 billion years, nearly 90% of its total history. Complex animals appear only in this final sliver. We start in the Hadean Eon, 4.5 billion years ago. Earth was liquid magma when a protoplanet the size of Mars slammed into it. The impact ejected a massive cloud of debris that eventually clumped together to form our moon. This newly formed moon stabilized Earth's rotational wobble, creating the foundation for a stable climate. Because the young Earth was molten, heavy elements like liquid iron and nickel sank toward the center, forming a dense metallic core. That rotation generates Earth's magnetic field, an invisible shield that blocks deadly radiation from the sun. As the crust finally began to cool, shifting gas giants in the outer solar system flung a storm of asteroids and comets toward the inner planets. This late heavy bombardment pulverized the early Earth and entirely remelted the young crust. These early events, a planetary collision, the sinking of iron, and a final rain of asteroids, provided the magnetic shield and stabilized orbit required for liquid water to pool and for life to eventually persist. During the Archean Eon, the sun was about 20 to 30% dimmer than it is today. To keep the oceans from freezing, early microscopic life released methane gas as waste. Methane is an efficient greenhouse gas, and this atmospheric blanket trapped enough solar heat to keep the early oceans liquid. Near deep-sea hydrothermal vents lived Luca. Luca is the last universal common ancestor, the shared genetic starting point that connects you, a redwood tree, and every other living thing today. This animated sequence illustrates the evolution of photosynthesis. Microbes called cyanobacteria began harvesting energy directly from the sun, releasing oxygen as a waste product. For hundreds of millions of years, this oxygen bonded with dissolved iron in the water, rusting the oceans and depositing thick layers of iron ore on the seafloor. Once the oceans were saturated, the excess oxygen flooded into the air, reacting directly with the methane. You can see the oxygen molecules breaking the methane apart. This destroyed the planet's greenhouse blanket. Global temperatures plummeted, freezing the Earth into a solid snowball for 300 million years. Oxygen was a lethal poison to almost all early life. To survive, a large host cell engulfed a smaller oxygen-breathing bacterium. Instead of digesting it, the host used the smaller bacterium as an internal power plant to safely process the oxygen into energy. This process, called endosymbiosis, created the complex eukaryotic cells that make up all multicellular life. Millions of years later, the ancient supercontinent Rodinia broke apart, disrupting the climate and triggering a second deep freeze. When the ice finally melted, the oceans were filled with the Ediacaran biota, the first large multicellular animals. Early life was an active participant in Earth's development. By exhaling greenhouse gases and pumping out oxygen, microscopic organisms altered the chemical makeup of the atmosphere and repeatedly shifted the global climate. We reach the Phanerozoic Eon, the final 10% of Earth's history. It begins with the Cambrian explosion. Animal diversity rapidly accelerated as creatures developed hard parts, like shells and exoskeletons, to hunt and defend themselves. Looking at this cross-section diagram, you can see how life eventually left the ocean. Simple plants spread across the bare rock first. Then, animals like the lobed-finned fish Tiktaalik evolved muscular fins to push through shallow vegetation, marking the first steps onto dry land. Massive forests evolved wood, but because bacteria hadn't yet figured out how to decompose it, dead trees piled up indefinitely. This trapped carbon and pushed atmospheric oxygen to 35%, allowing insects to grow to massive sizes. To push deeper into the dry continents, reptiles evolved the amniotic egg, a self-contained hard-shelled capsule that allowed embryos to develop safely away from the water. The Paleozoic era ended with a mass extinction called the Great Dying. Here we see an active flood basalt eruption in the Siberian traps. Massive sheets of lava flowed continuously for millennia, releasing enough carbon dioxide to boil the global climate and strip the oceans of oxygen. 96% of all marine species vanished. As life recovered in the Mesozoic era, the supercontinent Pangaea began to tear apart. The continuous volcanic activity along the splitting tectonic plates released enough carbon dioxide to sustain a sweltering greenhouse climate, allowing dinosaurs to dominate the planet for 150 million years. A 10-kilometer-wide asteroid struck the Yucatan Peninsula. The resulting dust cloud blocked the sun and stopped global photosynthesis. Large, high-energy dinosaurs starved to death in the sudden cold, while small mammals and birds survived on what remained. Whether it is millions of years of volcanic activity or a single asteroid impact, geological events act as ruthless filters. The shifting rocks dictate exactly which biological lineages survive. After the dinosaurs vanished, the surviving mammals underwent adaptive radiation. Adaptive radiation is a process where organisms rapidly diversify into new forms to fill empty ecological roles. This radiation produced primates, whales, and eventually humans. This cross-section diagram shows the Indian subcontinent slowly colliding with Asia. The physical pressure of this ongoing crash crumples the Earth's crust, forcing millions of tons of rock upward to form the Himalayan mountains. As you can see, carbon dioxide molecules from the air bind to the newly exposed rock. Rain then chemically weathers the rock, washing that carbon away and pulling it out of the atmosphere. The massive scale of the Himalayas drained the greenhouse effect, plunging the Earth from a hothouse into a cold icehouse state. The Pleistocene was defined by rapid fluctuations. As ice sheets advanced and retreated over thousands of years, ecosystems vanished and reappeared. Surviving this instability required more than instinct. It required the ability to plan ahead, share information across groups, and adapt to entirely new climates in a single generation. These environmental pressures favored the development of human intelligence and social cooperation. Geology builds the arena, biology continually alters the canvas, and climate acts as the ultimate filter. Rock, air, water, and life function as a single 4.5 billion-year feedback loop. The planet operates as one living